Leslie Kleinman was born into an Orthodox Jewish family in May 1929. The family home was in a small village near Satu Mare in northwest Romania. It was a poor agricultural community. Leslie had 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and his father, Mordecai, was the village rabbi, as was his grandfather before him. Although the family was desperately poor, it was a happy childhood, a home full of love. But that ended in the spring of 1944, when Nazi Germany invaded Romania. In March of that year, soldiers came for his father.
They said to my father, "We're going to take you to Russia, and you've got to build big trenches for our troops so they can fight the Russians." And my mum wanted to know what's going on. She came out and she said to my father, she was crying, and I could still see her tears. And she said, "You know what, I don't think I'm going to see you again." She told him. Those are the words I remembered. And my father said, "No," because he was obviously a great believer. He said, "No, God will help us, I'll be back." Well, she was right, we'll never back. It's the last time we saw our father.
They cut off his beard, a humiliating act for a religious man, and took him away. His father was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau and the gas chamber. A month later, the soldiers came back. They forced the family to leave their home and go to the already overcrowded ghetto in Satu Mare. The following month, the ghetto was emptied, and everyone was told they were going to Germany to work.
They told us, this police, they told us not a lie. They said, "We're going to go now to Germany, and we're going to work in a brick factory. And everybody's going to be happy. You know, the kids will have more food, they have education, and everything." And nobody took much notice. And then they said, "Well, there's a good chance of being in a vineyard working." Everybody jumped up. When they heard the vineyard, all jumped up. They want to go. They killed to go to the trains. So anyway, it didn't exist anyway. So we did go eventually. And when we got there, we realized these trains are not proper trains. They're actually freight wagons. They could not escape from there. Impossible. Because not only was it all wood around, with no windows in, it was padlocked from outside once we got inside. Now, when we got inside, there was the most terrible thing ever. They gave us only one bucket. Well, it should be 50 people, there was 110. And we couldn't even move. And I thought we're not humans anymore. And we were there actually mostly a week, and most people, all I heard is crying. They prayed and cried, that's all they done, because the kids cried as well.
Instead, they were herded onto 6 trains and sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp in Poland. Of the 20,000 men, women and children deported that day from Satu Mare ghetto, Nazi records later revealed that 14,440 were murdered. On arrival in Auschwitz-Birkenau, the Jews were made to stand in line while they were selected for either work gowns or the gas chambers. Making the life or death decisions that day was Dr. Joseph Mengele, the infamous Angel of Death. As Leslie approached the doctor's table, an inmate, a Polish Jew, asked him how old he was. Leslie was 14, but at 5 feet 10 and strongly built, he looked older.
As we're marching along to the shower, very lucky I was that a man, a Polish Jew, pulls me out from the line as I'm walking along, and he says to me, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I'm actually 14. And he said, "For now you're 17. I said, okay, I'm 17. I didn't take it enough to 17. I'm 17. It was a long table, that's what I could see in my vision. A long table, there was all these other guys all the way around. And I had to go right forward to Dr. Mengele. And he looked at me, but see, they needed workers badly. And I was very healthy, very strong, come up. And he said to me, how old are you? I said, I'm 17. And he asked me, asked me, and he told me, go and get yourself a number on my arm. What these Nazis didn't know, that my number in Hebrew means love. See, they didn't know that. So they gave me a number which is love, which I teach love in schools. So that's the only time I've seen him. And I never saw him again.
Leslie's eldest sister Gita was also selected to work, but the rest of the Kleinman family, his mother Rochelle, 3 brothers and 3 sisters, were immediately sent to the gas chambers. In all, 68 members of Leslie's extended family were murdered by the Nazis.
I'm looking and I can't find anything. So I saw another man walking along and I said to him, we arrived yesterday, and where are these buildings? Well, my mother was supposed to be in a family. She says, buildings? Can't you see the chimneys? What about the chimneys? I still didn't catch on. I mean, why would I catch on? He said, they all went up there into that building, and said, nobody comes out from there. That's it. So you're never going to see him again, he says. And it was not, so now I realize there's nobody there. So I got no one now, I'm on my own. So I tried very hard to be friendly with other people, but they weren't interested, they had no problems. They were starved actually, they didn't give them anything much. Because I had to go to work in most of the early morning. The work position was very hard. The first week I had when I went to work was in the coal mines. And there was only one week, lucky enough. And then there was, next one was I had to unload cement, you know, those bags of cement. And I had to run with it. If you didn't run, they shot you. So I had to run with this bag. And so that was difficult. And then, again, a couple of weeks I worked there, and that's it. And then they told me, sent me to work on the railway lines. Very hard work because the food wasn't there. They gave me a pickaxe. We do the strips, and I had to put these stones in there. Also, new lines we were laying down. Then there was actually about 8 of us carrying this line, and we just so heavy for us, you know, with no food, just collapsed. So we just went, oh, still remember, hey, rook, another one, hey, rook, I don't know. And we moved another foot, sort of. You know, I didn't know much about this thing. So what it was, tell you, people say to me, why do you believe in God still, with all that? I said to them, I tell you why. When I realized all my family were gone, and I can't get any friends, I couldn't get with anybody, I realized that, so I decided, being brought up religious, I decided to go and speak to God, I want to speak to Him. And I spoke with Him with tears, and I spoke from my heart. And I said to Him, God, you know what, I can't even find a friend. I lost everything. I can't even find someone who wants to be friendly with me. Can you, God, be a friend with me? I asked God, can you be my friend? And I felt after that, I actually felt that it's guiding me all the time. I had 4 different miracles really, which I escaped, you know. The first one was when I just told you about the man who pulled me out. I think there was at least 10 of us the same age as me, they come from the same villages. So why me he picked? So I said, God wanted me to go, I suppose. The second one was, all of a sudden, after a few weeks working, I don't know why, but I got a big boil coming up with the size of an egg. The pain I had is unbelievable. And I collapsed and here comes the guard with the big boots and trots on it. And of course, all the parts came out. And I think to myself, well, I've got no bandages, I've got nothing. It's if any dirt gets in there or something, whatever. Somehow, I lived through it, you know. And the third one was actually, there was a man next to me with a pickaxe, also went down. And he got up, he straightened his back. That's all he done. The guard came up and he shot him. And I said to him, why did you kill this man? What's he done to you? And he says, well, he's here to work, not to straighten his back. So I couldn't say nothing. So I didn't say nothing. And a few weeks later, I tell him, I got very sick. And I thought, that's it, I nearly made my own funeral. Because I knew from my father what blessing would be saying. And then I came to somehow, and I was okay again. So I thought I better go back to work. And he spotted me, the same man. And he says, come over, you've been 22 minutes too long. I thought, I'm not arguing with him, I'm going to watch anyway, I didn't move, no. So I went up there and I said, well, drop your pens. And he gave me 50 lashes. And I thought to myself, you see, God is with me again. He could have shot me for the little thing that he stood up, but yet he gave me 50 lashes instead. And I know, I could not sit down, there was nothing to sit down anyway. But I could have not sit down for months, it was so painful. It was only bones, and I'm sure my bones got damaged, that's the heaviest thing. But you know what? I healed up after a while. That was number 3, was it?
Towards the end of 1944, the rapid advance of the Red Army across Eastern Europe caused the Nazis to empty the concentration camp of anyone capable of work and forced them on a death march to Sachsenhausen, near Berlin. But there was no room there, so they were forced to march on to Flossenburg in Bavaria.
We marched to Sachsenhausen, there was 500 miles. When I got to Sachsenhausen, I was so tired, I was half dead anyway. And I said to God, you know what, I think I'm going to die, I told him. And I said to God then, I'm going to deal with you this time. I'm not religious anymore, I'm going to tell you. I told my God I'm not religious. But I tell you what, I will go to a Jewish college for 1 year just to pay my debt to you that you saved me. If I don't live, I says, then I want to die without believing in all that nonsense. It's not true. And as I finished speaking to God like this, I couldn't believe it. The guards gave us coffee, first time. We had black coffee, and then he came out and gave us bread. All that stuff. But I couldn't pick the bread up. I was so weak, I couldn't pick the bread up. I just throw it on the floor. So he came back again, the guard, and he says, give the kid a chance to leave. One guy has 3 slices. And he gave me a slice of bread. And I thought, I felt good now because I thought God is back again with me. I really felt good. So, that was in Sachsenhausen, but they had no room up there, so they sent us to Dachau. Right? And when we stopped off at Flossenburg, and the Flossenburg was halfway, well, more than halfway, 3/4 of the way already, we marched again. And sometimes we had the trains as well, because there were dying too many of them, so we had to put the trains in. So they loaded up the train, right? And there was 2,000 people on that train. This was normal to get 2,000. Loaded it up 2001, ready to go. The Americans came and bombed the engine. Couldn't go anywhere. And I was so upset. I got to march again with these wooden clocks, these pajamas. March again to Dachau now from here. It was another 60 miles. So after the war, I found out that 3 trains left Flossenburg camp for Dachau, and the guards never opened the doors for them. So when the Americans arrived, they said, "This is a terrible stench out there. Oh my God, what is it?" So they looked around the whole camp, looked around. Dachau was very big. And they found 3 times, they found them in a corner. So they opened the doors this time, and it was too late. They were just raw flesh. 6,000 people died in 3 trains. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? It's a big miracle, because I was upset that I couldn't get onto that train. They're upset. They can't walk anymore. And yet God knew what he was doing. You know, these people. So they did find the guards, and they asked the guards, why didn't you open the doors for these poor people? It's too late now. They said, my job was to deliver, not to open doors.
Those who survived the second march were then sent on another 50-mile trek, this time to Dachau. On April 13th, 1945, American forces liberated the survivors of the Death March.
I was in the forest. We were going to go to Dachau, march to Dachau, you see. Everybody disappeared, and I'm the only one left. I'm looking, nobody's in now. Even guards left, they changed their clothes already, and they left. And even our own people left, and they're running all over the place. And I didn't know what to do, I had nobody to help me. So I just jumped into a foxhole and waited to see what happens. And the first tank that came in noticed me, that being in that foxhole. And he came up, and the first thing he asked me, are you Jewish? You know, in my language, in Jewish language. I hesitated a minute, but I said yes. He said, Shalom, I'm also you. I said to him, you're a Jew. How can SS be a Jew? I didn't know I was American. How would I know? He said, now he says, I'm American now, you know. He said, we had the first tank and I got a few Nazis in my tank. So he picked me up like this. He weighed me actually afterwards when they took it in. And I weighed 20 kilograms, you know, which is just under 4 stones, 3 3/4. And he said, you know, we both cried together. I hoped I was going to be liberated, but really and truly, I wasn't 100% sure, if you know what I mean. So he took me into American Army Hospital, and apparently I was there for 2 months, something like that. And then they sent me to a convent. Now I'll tell you what happened with Gita, because I cry every time I say that story. I can't help it, because we were very close. I was very close. There's only a year difference between me and her. We are at home, we were very close. I saw her actually leaving Auschwitz-Birkenau on a big truck. And she had no hair, but I recognized her, you know. And I waved to her, and she waved back to me. So every day I was thinking, you know what, I'm not so bad. At least I got a sister left. So when the war finished, instead of, I promised God I'm going to, as you know, I'm going to the Jewish college. They sent me to a convent instead. And when in the convent I wasn't happy there, so I decided to go back home to Romania to find my sister. So I didn't have any money, I didn't have nothing. How am I going to go there? I had a lift from the American Army, and they took me as far as Prague, and they said they can't go any further. You can't go any further than that, because it's communist past there. So, okay, so lucky enough that God helped me again, because that's the place I wanted to go, and that's where I went. Because if I couldn't go to Romania because I didn't have the money, you know, and I couldn't go. I wouldn't have known this there. Yeah, because here I look out, and there's my cousin from the same town as me, and she survived, and they were always together. So I said to her, you know, where is my sister? We were together all this time. She said, we done the Death March for a week, and when we arrived there, we arrived in Bergen-Belsen, and it was a terrible camp. They only gave us less than 300 calories, and we couldn't survive on that. And people had typhoid and everything, and she caught typhoid, but we didn't have the medication for her. So I was very upset. I was crying because I was very upset. You know, that's the only thing I got left. I said to God, I've only got one sister left. Did she have to die? You know.
After the war, Britain agreed to take 1,000 young Holocaust survivors. Leslie was among those chosen. He initially settled in Manchester, where he attended a Jewish religious college as he had promised God. He undertook a number of jobs before eventually owning a dress manufacturing business. He married a German-born nurse, Eva, a non-Jew.
This is my 2 children. That's Rosalind, And this one is my son. So she named him Stephen.
After Eva died of leukemia, he married Miriam. Today they live in Westcliff-on-Sea in Essex, where Leslie devotes his time giving talks to schools and colleges about his experience of the horrors of the Holocaust, lest we forget. In 2018, Leslie was awarded a British Empire Medal for his educational talks.
Religion has got nothing to do with it. We're all the same, and we all live the same way. And we should understand God doesn't do anything. We do the terrible things to each other. We should all stand up and stick up for each other, and this thing would not happen. Trouble was in Germany that nobody, stuck up for us. Nobody.